So today I wanted to talk about something that was in the news a lot, that a lot of people know, and of course nutrition's my specialty and I love it, so I always want to talk about it as much as I can. So today I want to talk about some facts and fallacies, particularly about some superfoods. I'm pretty sure that everybody's heard of something or other that's been called a superfood time and again. The term has been around for years, even since, the turn of the 20th century, but in the past few years too, it's really become popular. Look at any magazine or even newspapers, and you'll see a new superfood or super drink or super herb or something like that every week. So I just wanted to talk about some of the ones that I feel have been around for either a while or just really heavily promoted and what they really are. So one definition that's actually been around for quite a while of a superfood is a food that's considered especially nutritious or otherwise beneficial to health and well-being. So that's generally the promoters of such foods really go into the especially nutritious part of it. So I'll be talking a lot about that. So the first food I want to talk about is goji berries. Has everybody heard of these at all? They're one of the new super berries. They're kind of the follow-up to acai, which was the big thing, a couple of years ago and still is in everything now. These have all sorts of health claims. One that you'll find on most of the websites, it's the most nutritionally dense food on earth. It has everything. It has antioxidants. It has numerous vitamins. It has more than 18 amino acids. There's only about 22 that are really used for humans. So it's been used for thousands of years in ancient societies. It cures cancer, prevents heart disease, and of course it boosts the immune system. Because, that's always important.
Autoimmune diseases are awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So let's look at some of these things here. As you saw in the picture, goji berries, they're actually the berry of an evergreen plant that grows in the Himalayan areas. So that's kind of where they are. They're usually sold dried. They're kind of like raisins. They taste like berries, or they have kind of a nutty flavor if you're wondering what they're like. So let's look at the amino acids and protein. Yes, they do contain amino acids. Amino acids are the building blocks for protein. But everything, just about everything, contains amino acids. Plants and animals, we all need to build proteins in order for our bodies or the plant stocks to grow, to metabolize nutrients, and to do everything that they need to do. The difference is that just because it contains amino acids doesn't mean it's a good source of protein. Humans really need to eat something called complete proteins because there are certain amino acids that we can't eat. Most plants are not complete proteins. Goji berries are one of them. In fact, there's only a couple of plants that meet that complete protein criteria. So it's not worth even mentioning the amino acid content if it's not in the superfood context, because it's not a complete protein that's really going to provide you that extra nutrition. You'll still need to supplement with other foods. Then the next, the next issue is the antioxidants. So quickly, I'm sure everybody's heard of antioxidants. They're one of the biggest buzzwords out there in health and nutrition. There are a few really well-known, really well-researched and recognized antioxidants for the human body. Vitamin C is one. Vitamin E is another. Beta-carotene and some carotenoids, which are similar compounds to beta-carotene. And those are the ones that we know work, and we know that we need them. And they're actually widely available in a lot of foods. Now, if you'll look at the nutrition facts label there, which I will point out I ended up getting from a site that was selling goji berries simply because I couldn't find it anywhere else. So, take it with a grain of salt because they always want to make things sound better. But you'll notice on here, goji berries do contain vitamin C, which is awesome, but it's only 20%. So it's not like it contains all of your vitamin C in a small serving. And they don't mention vitamin E on there. So it does contain an antioxidant, but the antioxidants that they're most promoting in goji berries are things called flavonoids. Now, there's all sorts of different names for these. These are compounds that in vitro studies, so like in petri dishes, have been shown to have anti-cancer properties, anti-cardiovascular disease, like anti-lipid oxidation properties, things like that. But most of the research either focuses on what's happening in a petri dish, or very little bit of it looks at what's in animals. And you can't extrapolate those effects in a very controlled petri dish to what happens when you eat a berry in your typical daily life outside of that petri dish. And the evidence for flavonoid antioxidant properties in the human body is really conflicted. There's really no conclusive evidence either way. There's a lot of study that is going into it, but we really need to know a lot more before we can really tell if the flavonoids are even worth, not that they're not worth eating, but if they really provide that extra antioxidant value in the body, or if the effect is really only seen in the petri dish. And another thing to point out, just as kind of a side note with goji berries, the vast majority of the research that is done, which is very minimal, is funded through a company that sells goji berries. So again, it's good to be critical of these things. Where is the research coming from? Not that it's not necessarily good research, but we do know that only those companies are funding this research. There isn't as much independent research, which makes you wonder, why isn't there any independent research? And then there's actually a possible drug interaction. There has been some evidence. We do need further study, but there has been some evidence that people who are on blood thinners like Coumadin or warfarin, they can have an adverse reaction when they're taking goji berries. The goji berries can sometimes thin the blood too much, which is a big problem. And that's something that they don't mention in their health claims at all, which is important for people to know. So superfood, yay or nay? Well, it's very similar to other berries, like strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, cherries, all sorts of berries. It's very nutritionally similar. Most of the calories come from carbohydrate. They're not good sources of protein, and they do contain vitamin C. So really, these berries don't contain anything that we don't already have in a lot of common foods. Sometimes the source and safety of the product can be questionable just because it's a natural health product. It's not always well regulated. And also, the main companies that are selling these are multi-level marketing corporations. So you want to be careful with those as well. Bottom line, they are a berry. They can contribute to your fruit and vegetable intake. If you like them, they can be included in a healthy diet, absolutely. But they're not necessary for health, because we know that we can already get everything that they have from other foods that are common in our diets. So the next food is wheatgrass. This one just won't quit. There's always a new health claim for wheatgrass out there. These are just a few of the claims. Detoxification all the time. More nutritionally dense than most vegetables. It prevents and cures diseases, all kinds of diseases. You name it, it cures it. It's a high source of chlorophyll, which is important for our diets. And it's a high source of enzymes, which we need for proper digestion. It stabilizes blood sugar, blood pressure, basically anything that could go wrong in your body, it cures it. So what's the evidence with this? Well, it's really limited. I did a PubMed search for this just to see what was out there, and I came back with 5 studies, only 2 of which dealt with wheatgrass actually being consumed as a food and the effects in the human body. Most of the studies were discussing growing conditions of wheatgrass and soil conditions and that. And just to clarify, wheatgrass is actually just the very young shoots of the wheat plant from which we get wheat flour, which makes our breads and our pastries and all those lovely things. So it's not a different kind of food at all. It's something very common. We just eat it at a different stage. Now, I'll just skip ahead. I'm going to talk about the nutritional profile. This is an excellent table that I found. You see wheatgrass on the left there compared to broccoli and spinach, 2 other green vegetables. And you can see that they contain many of the same nutrients, and they're very similar. And there's really not too much difference. In some cases, spinach wins by a long shot, like the beta carotene, but there's not a huge difference between these three vegetables here. So for them to claim that it's more nutritionally dense than most vegetables or any other vegetables is completely false, because we can see here, it's not. It may have slight amounts more of some nutrients than others, but all vegetables have that. So there's really no evidence here to show that it's better in that way. Now the chlorophyll claim. Now this one's been around for a while. It was popular a few years ago. It's not as popular now, but I wanted to clear it up anyway. Yes, green plants are full of chlorophyll. That's what makes them green. It's a pigment. It's also the compound that lets plants make energy and build themselves using the sun's energy, right? It's very, very important for plants to have it. If they can't get enough or they can't do it, they can't grow, they can't live. Humans don't need chlorophyll. We get our energy from eating plants, not from using the sun to grow. So for us, when we eat something that has chlorophyll, it ends up just becoming energy. We break it down, we get energy out of it. Chlorophyll doesn't serve any metabolic purpose in our body. We absolutely have no need for it. So, not that it's bad, we just really don't need it. We just eat it up. There have been some people saying, well, it's been shown that a diet high in plants that are high in chlorophyll is very beneficial, lower incidence of disease, greater longevity. But they're really misconstruing the facts, because plants that are high in chlorophyll also tend to be high in vitamins like riboflavin and folic acid. They tend to be high in fiber. They tend to be full of nutrients that we do need, that are proven to be part of a healthful diet. So the longevity, the lower incidences of disease is most likely due to the high nutrient content, not the chlorophyll.
Are you saying that eating plants is good for us?
Yes, absolutely. You should know that, Jem.
Shocking.
The last claim on here, the enzymes. Plants do create enzymes because they need them. Enzymes are types of proteins that help reactions happen. Humans also create enzymes. When we eat enzymes from plants or other animals, they're just protein to us because we break them down, so they don't have any function in our bodies. Any enzymes that we need, we make. There are some people who have metabolic problems that don't produce those enzymes. That's a completely different story. But eating something that has enzymes in it really isn't going to provide beneficial digestion to you.
Is that because the enzymes are different than the ones that we create?
Yes,
Okay.
they are different. Every enzyme is built to do a specific purpose. Plants do different things in building themselves and in creating different parts of themselves than humans do. So our enzymes are different.
Even if they were the same, we couldn't utilize them unless we broke them down first, could we?
Generally, that's the case, yeah. Protein gets broken down into the amino acids that I was talking about in our stomachs, and then they get absorbed as small little bits of protein. So, yeah, if we could use them, we'd have to find a different way to get them to us than eating them, because we just break them down. So that's a very good point, Ashlyn. So superfood, yay or nay? Anybody? Nay. Yeah. As we saw in the chart, wheatgrass is really nutritionally equivalent to other green vegetables. I would say that it's less tasty than other green vegetables, but everybody has their own tastes. The methods of action. Oh, sorry, Donna. I have smelled it, and it smells bad.